Welcome to another edition of the McEnulty Method, where financial expert Frank McEnulty shares his insights and knowledge with us to help us live a life as free from financial worry as possible. Frank, thank you for joining us.
Bill, glad to be here again. You know, I get all excited about doing these because I feel it's such an important topic to share with people. In fact, on one of the major radio stations in LA today, I happened to be out at lunchtime listening to the radio, driving down the street, and they were going on and on about how they're doing more and more studies, how young people, rather than do some of the things they do in school, really need a financial class on how to live their lives financially astute as they go forward. And so we're ahead of the curve here.
Well, it's I was going to say that I wish I'd had one of those. So I'm still a bit behind the curve, but maybe you can help me out with that. So for today, we're going to talk a little bit about how to grow your money.
Right. But, you know, we always talk about how to grow it, why to grow it. You should grow it. You know, it's what I wanted to do. I've got some charts that I think will really drive home the fact that the more you save young, the better off you're going to be when you get, let's face it, to our age. You know, you're gonna see these numbers and you're gonna go, oh man, I wish I would have done that. And I sort of said the same thing. Now, the numbers are a little higher than we could have saved because when we were growing up, there's probably about what we were making net when we got out of college, but things are different now, and people can do things differently.
Well, I'm fascinated to find out, and so you've got some charts for us. Why don't you share them? Show us what is possible.
Will do. So here's a simple chart. It's based on the premise that you save $1,000 a month for 10 years. Then you don't save any more money. Just for 10 years, you save $1,000 a month. I know, sounds like a lot of money, doesn't it? But
yeah.
But if you're a college student and you've basically been living on college student wages, and you now graduate from college and you get that full-time job, you're going to make a lot more money, we hope. You're going to have the ability to save a lot more if you don't get into the habit of spending it all right away.
Okay,
you know, so
I'm looking at this chart, and you say it's like, this is what happens if you save $1,000 a month for just 10 years.
Correct. And I only put a 6% interest rate here. The stock market on average over the last 100 years, and that includes the Great Depression and everything else, has increased on average 10% a year.
Wow.
So I took 6% just to start out, to be conservative. You know, I'm going to show the bigger numbers later because they are very interesting and very exciting. But even if, say, you earn 10% a year and you had it in a taxable account, okay, you pay 40% in taxes, you end up netting 6%. So this is what would happen. You would put away $1,000 a month for 10 years, $120,000. After 10 years, you put no more money away. That's why this little blip in the chart here, you're not putting extra money in anymore. Now this is all just interest at 6% a year going up. So
wow.
That in 40 years, which is pretty much a normal person's work life, you're going to have $1 million. So anybody can become a millionaire just by doing this. Put 120,000 away, let it sit for 30 years, and you become a millionaire. I know, sounds tough, but it's a habit. We can have bad habits, we can have good habits. Good habit, let's start saving as much money as we can in the beginning. and put it away.
Well, it does. I mean, it sounds like a lot, but if you're maybe bringing home 4,000 a month, $1,000. I mean, I could probably still live on 3,000 pretty easily.
There you go. And it's, it doesn't have to be $1,000. It can be 500. It could be whatever. The key is, though, that I wanted to show here is that if you do it for the first 10 years, then you let time work in your favor. Let it grow for 30 more years. Because I'm gonna show different examples. So we put it away for 10 years, we let it grow for 30.
Uh-huh.
We put 120 away, we end up with just over $1 million. We get 8.51 times our investment back. Not bad.
Not bad.
So if we do it for 20 years, we've now put in $240,000 over 20 years. Put it in for 20, let it grow for 20 more. We get 6.63 times our investment. So you can see the best money is when you do the early years. Now, I'm pretty sure that if you're in the habit of saving this money every month, you're going to stay in the habit. So doing 20 years won't be hard. 30 years, now you're almost up to $2 million.
Wow.
And you're not getting extraordinary returns. You're not doing anything special. And yes, the market may go down a year. Well, let's see what happened when you're young. That's okay. What happened 2 years or a year ago when COVID happened? The market collapsed, went way down.
Mm-hmm.
If you just sat there, you were better off because it came back. And I think for the most part, that's going to happen as long as you believe in America. The economy's gonna come back. Yes, there will be blips. And then I did one for the whole 40 years. You put $1,000 away every month for 40 years, 6%, 480,000. Or 2 million, 2,000,001 is your balance. You put 480 in, your times investment goes down, but you got more money. So you want to see something fun?
Yes, I do.
Okay, so let's say that you're fortunate. You work for a company where you can put the money away in a KEO or an IRA or a Roth IRA or any sort of tax deferred account.
Mm-hmm.
Or you just buy really good companies and don't sell the stock, because that's tax deferred in and of itself. Just because a stock goes up in value, you don't have to pay any money. Your house goes up in value. You don't have to pay money on what the increase in that value is. So you're earning tax-free. So let's put in here what happens if we just get the average market return on these accounts. Well, that made a difference, didn't it?
Wow.
1,000 a month, 10 years. We let it grow for 30 more. We end up with $4 million, or almost 34 times our investment of $120,000.
Wow. Saving for 10 years and then boom.
Then just let it go. Like how that curve goes, don't you? It starts going almost straight up. Let's see what it does for 20 years. Okay. We put 240 in. We now have 5.6 million. 1,000 a month. Not bad.
Not bad.
30 years, we have 6.2 million. In 40 years, 6.4. Any of these numbers would make somebody happy. And yes, there will be inflation over the next 40 years, but still, these are good numbers.
Oh yeah.
And they're,
no, I mean, there will be inflation, but I mean, again, The- You can't beat that.
No, and there's so many opportunities to do that now with, like I said, a Keo, oh, I'm sorry, not a Keo, a 401k at work, a Roth account, a Roth IRA, or a regular IRA, however you wish to do it. Or, like I said, you buy the new Amazon, whatever that might be, and in 40 years, it's gone up 40-fold because it's that great company that just keeps growing. You never paid tax on that gain. Your value has gone up tax-free, so you're probably earning 10%. I don't know what the compounded annual return on Amazon is for the last 20 or 30 years. I have a feeling it's pretty good, since you could have bought the stock for $30 and it's now worth 3,000.
No, absolutely. And hey, if it's paying dividends, it might be covering your $1,000 a month after a while.
Right. Yeah, because there's the dividends grow. We can get into that whole theory on dividends versus non-dividends versus growth stocks at a later time. But the fact of the matter is, time, when you are young and you want to save for later, time is your friend. Because time will solve a lot of problems, especially if you invest in good stocks, or you invest in just the index as a whole and let it grow over time as the economy and the country grows. It's really that simple. It's almost no thought. I'm going to do this and put this money in and let it go. And you can end up very, very happy.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, it's funny because I was looking at that thinking, okay, even if you just put in, if you manage to put in 500 a month instead of 1,000, or do as much as you can, you're still going to be in great shape.
Well, and I didn't run a chart. I just thought of this right now. So you say, okay, well, I can only put in $100 a month now. I can only put in 200 a month. Well, okay, what about next year? You can put in 3. Year after that, maybe 4. And you just keep adding. The key is get as much saved as early as possible and let time work for you. It's like a friend of mine says when we talk about real estate. He says, as long as you're in a good growing market for real estate, doesn't matter how badly you buy, if you have enough time, you'll come out ahead.
There you go.
And he's true, and he's right. Time solves a lot of problems and has a lot of opportunities. So,
well, I got to tell you, this is very exciting, and I think that, again, it's becoming an investor. It's, I mean, I'm still blown away just watching that money grow. I guess, one of the things that seems like you always talk about is, before you become an investor, you got to be a saver. So this seems like, I guess, an IRA or some sort of retirement account seems like a great way to save and invest at the same time.
Well, they are, and you don't necessarily, you may feel, a lot of people feel uncomfortable. Well, I don't trust the stock market. It's too high. It's, the last 2 days have not been good for the stock market. But it's also been coming on the heels of a lot of really good days. So it's always, okay, yes, I'm down from where it was Monday, but where am I from 6 months ago? Where am I from a year ago? And you don't have to be an expert anymore, because they have these great investments called ETF, or exchange traded funds, where you can say, okay, I'm just going to invest in the market. I'm going to invest in the S&P 500. And there's a fund for that. So you can put in your $100, $200,000 a month into that fund, and it can be automatic. And so you don't have to worry, oh, is Disney going to have good earnings this month? How's the market going to react? You're in it for the long run. This isn't oh, I got to make $1 million in the next year.
Well, an index fund like that seems to make a lot of sense, especially if, like you were saying, over the last 100 years, the market has gone up over and over, like 10%. It's like, it just seems like it's a nice, easy kind of set it and forget it kind of investment.
It is. And people forget that how people get hurt by investing in the market is when they get crazy. They buy things on margin. That the great, stock market crash way back in the 1920s was caused because people had margined their accounts and they were buying everything on borrowed money. I'm not talking about any of that. I'm not trying to get you to supercharge your returns. I'm just saying a nice, simple, slow and steady pace, taking market returns will serve you very, very well. You'll be very happy in the 40 years. And I know, I keep pointing out 40 years, but it goes by really fast, doesn't it, Bill, when you're on this end of it?
No, absolutely. And on some of those charts, people were becoming millionaires far before 40 years. So
Oh, yeah.
It just seems like an easy way to become a millionaire.
It is. All it takes is a little discipline and starting young. That's the key.
Well, Frank, I'm not young and I don't have that much discipline. So
Well,
you'll have to come up with a different strategy for me.
Well, that's yeah, as I've discussed, that's why I'm trying to do this for the younger generation. Now I can really sound old, the younger generation, because no one cares about them until they get to our age and they theoretically have money. So
There you go.
one of the main reasons for doing this is I want them to all get to this part so they have people calling up, begging them to invest their money with them.
Well, I think it sounds good to me, and I'm sure it sounds good to anybody watching that like, here's how you become a millionaire. I'm thinking maybe for the next edition, you might talk a little bit more nuts and bolts about how we start saving this money and get these funds set up so that it is a set it and forget it proposition. Does it sound good?
Sounds good to me.
All right. Well, you're the guy who's going to have to explain it all, so I'm happy.
Okay.
All right. I guess, I'm still kind of blown away, but that does it for this time. I'm going to go take off and dream about being a millionaire now.
Okay. See you next time.
All right.
Bye.